This video is going to be different from my usual content because today I want to share something really personal with you. A couple of days ago, I was invited to do an artist talk at a local gallery, and during the talk, I was asked how I became an abstract artist. Now, I didn't share the whole story because there are some parts of it that's a trigger warning, so I thought it was best for me to share it here on my channel. It's a story I've been carrying for a while, and I think it's time that I put it in words because it's my way to document my journey as an artist, but also give a deeper meaning to my work. I've always identified as an artist because I love to draw, paint, write, sing, and dance, but painting has always been my first love. While I've dabbled with abstraction throughout my journey, it's only in the last 2 years that I've been consistently creating abstract art. I now classify myself as an abstract artist because I love the freedom it allows me to express myself. But this shift to abstraction isn't just about my artistic style. It's also deeply connected to a story of loss, healing, and finding myself through art. Before I begin, I do want to give a trigger warning because I'll be discussing pregnancy loss and postpartum depression. So if these topics are sensitive for you, please make sure to take care of yourself as you listen. Before I started identifying as an abstract artist, I was doing portraits and figurative paintings. I did mostly women's faces, and sometimes I would also draw and paint birds, butterflies, and dragonflies. I've always had this connection and love for winged animals. There's something so free about them that I love and connect with, and the same goes with colors. My work has always been vibrant and colorful because it's inspired by my Haitian heritage. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, but I'm first-generation American, and I lived in Haiti for 4 years. The colors I incorporate in my art reminds me of the hot Caribbean sun, the turquoise water, palm trees, loud music, colorful language, and the resilience of my people. It's what brings me alive, so that's always been consistent in my work. So let's fast forward to 2020. The world was in chaos with the pandemic, and there was a lot going on, and I'm sure we can all relate to how wild it was. But I got pregnant that summer, and it was a happy moment for us. We went for an ultrasound when I was 8 weeks, and we were excited to hear the heartbeat. But the doctor also told me I had fibroids. Now, I didn't know that, but she said it was something that they would have to keep a close eye on. I was also overweight at that time, and she didn't want me to gain too much weight during the pregnancy. So it was a lot to take into consideration. That night, I had this vivid dream where I was in my ancestral home in Haiti, and there was this older woman with hair as white as cotton wearing a denim dress, and she was sitting down next to me and my head was laying on her lap. I felt this warmth, this motherly love that I've never experienced before. It was so real, so comforting, and I remember waking up from that dream just thinking about it and wondering who she was. But then a few days later, things started to go wrong. I noticed spotting, and something in my gut told me that this wasn't normal. So I called the doctor's office multiple times, but they kept brushing me off, saying that it was fine. They said it was normal and that it was due to the examination. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Then came that Saturday, September 5th. I'll never forget that date. I woke up and it wasn't spotting anymore. My heart sank and I started crying. We rushed to the emergency room, and let me tell you, that place was cold. Not just temperature-wise, but The whole atmosphere was sub-zero. There was no warmth, no compassion, just cold, sterile walls and even colder faces. All we can see were their eyes because it was COVID, but the energy was just off. When the doctor came in and said they couldn't find a heartbeat, it felt like the world stopped. And her response was, well, at least you know you can get pregnant. I don't know if that was supposed to make me feel better. She then went on saying, expect some cramping in the next few days and that she will send a note to my OBGYN letting her know what happened. This was during Labor Day weekend, so the office was going to be closed that Monday. So I had to schedule to come in that Wednesday, September 10th. Now, she said expect some cramping, but that word doesn't even begin to describe what happened on September 8th. The pain was, I don't even have words for it. It felt like my body was being torn in half. And there I was trying to tough it out with herbal teas because I've never been one for painkillers. But the pain got so bad that I considered going back to the emergency room. But after how cold they were, I couldn't bear the thought of going back there on top of what I was going through. And this lasted for hours. It started at noon and ended around 8 or 9 p.m. During those hours of pain, I had these visions, I guess you'd call them. I saw my grandmother who passed away in 2018. We didn't have a close relationship when she was alive, but there she was sitting next to me. And I remember saying, help me. I looked at her saying, help me. Now, this part is probably going to make me sound crazy, and I don't have a clear explanation of what I was seeing because I was in so much pain. But after I said, help me, we were sitting together watching Jesus walking up a hill carrying the cross. Now, I don't consider myself a religious person, and I'm still on my own spiritual journey. I've always been a seeker trying to find truth and the meaning of life. And I'm bringing this up because I often talk about God on my channel and share scriptures in my videos. This is because my faith has brought me so much solace during this challenging time in my life, and I've been on a spiritual quest ever since. There's so much that I'm still trying to understand, and I'm evolving as a person and feel like I'm going through a spiritual awakening. And it's hard to make sense of what I've been experiencing. But anyway, in that moment of pain, that's what I saw. And moments later, the pain went away instantly. It's like it went from beyond 10 on the pain scale to 0 within seconds. I can't explain it, but that's what happened, and I can't ignore or forget that moment. After all of that, I couldn't paint portraits anymore. It was like my hands wouldn't let me, but I still needed to create to express all these emotions that were swirling inside me. That's when I turned to abstract art. I didn't know anything about the principles or techniques. I just needed to play with color to splash paint around and let it speak for me. This phase in my life became a time of intense healing. I changed my diet, went plant-based. I started walking on the trail for 2 hours every day. I lost 35 pounds in 5 months. I learned a lot about fibroids and how to get rid of them naturally with herbs and with a plant-based diet. I was reading and studying, trying to make sense of what had happened, but I wasn't angry. In fact, I felt closer to God and felt this deep gratitude for life and for the ability to create and express myself through art. Then in February 2021, I got pregnant again. This time, my body was healthier and stronger. We also went to a natural birthing center this time, and they didn't mention anything about fibroids. So I don't know if the herbs coupled with changing my diet got rid of them, but I had a healthy pregnancy and we took everything a day at a time. I even took a course on abstract art during the pregnancy because I wanted to understand more about what I was doing intuitively. I also met some wonderful artists who were also mothers, and they coached me through balancing motherhood and art. But after my daughter was born, I faced a new challenge that I didn't share with anyone. I felt this heavy feeling that was lingering, and I knew it was the onset of postpartum depression. Just to back up a bit about the birth itself, because I think it's important. I had this whole plan for a water birth, but I reached 41 weeks, and at that point, it wasn't safe anymore, so I had to go to the hospital. The midwives had a close relationship with that hospital, so they were still there supporting me, but I ended up needing a C-section. That was not what I wanted, and it traumatized me for a while. I also felt a lot of guilt and shame afterwards. But I've made peace with it now. But I know that disappointment with having a birth not going as planned contributed to that heavy feeling. And it was real. It was this heavy, dark feeling that I was afraid might swallow me whole. There was a lot that I couldn't put into words. I didn't have anyone to share this feeling with, so I forced myself to paint. I challenged myself for 30 days to just paint, and my daughter was a newborn, and I painted every day for 30 days, even if it was just for 15 minutes. Painting wasn't a hobby for me anymore. It was a necessity. I had to paint away that darkness to give form to those feelings that I couldn't express in words. And that's the moment when I truly began to identify as an abstract artist. Before, it was just dabbling and playing around with colors, but it developed into a language for me and started giving me a sense of who I am, who I'm becoming, and the mysteries of life. You know, it's funny, when I shared a bit of this story at the artist talk, I was surprised by how it resonated with people. Even the men in the room were nodding, talking about women in their lives who had struggled with postpartum depression. I had no plans of sharing this story. It just came out. And it made me realize how important it is to talk about these things, to bring them out into the open and not keep it a secret. And I've realized postpartum isn't just a 6-month thing. It can follow you for years. And I will say that becoming a mother made me more understanding of my own mother. And our relationship is so much better now. I forgave her for a lot of things. I even forgave my grandmother. And I feel like a generational curse has been broken. After having my daughter, my mother wrote me a letter and she asked me if I understand now. And I called her simply saying, yes, I get it now. I know my brain has changed. There are areas where I used to be sharp that are now a bit fuzzy, but there are other areas where I'm sharper than ever. My creativity, for one, has gone through the roof, And that's partly why I started this YouTube channel when my daughter was just 6 or 7 months old, because it felt like a calling, a way to express myself and connect with others who might be going through similar experiences. As I'm sharing all of this, I'm realizing how much art has been my lifeline. It's helped me make sense of the world, of who I am as a person, of my spirit. It's helped me process life, death, birth, and everything in between. I want this channel to be a place where we can have these real, raw conversations. Yes, I want to share tips about art and business, but I also want to talk about the deep stuff, the stuff that makes us who we are as artists and as human beings. I'm exploring new territory in my art now. I still identify as an abstract expressionist, but I'm starting to bring in some figurative elements. It's interesting because the figures I'm drawing don't have faces. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure why yet, but I'm curious to see where this leads me. However, I will say that my most recent pieces are making me come alive, and I found my voice in them. I will do retreats someday. It's one of my dreams. I know my path is leading to that. I want to create safe spaces for women who've experienced pregnancy loss, postpartum depression, or any of life's big challenges. I want it to be a place where we can come together, create art, and heal. I am a certified therapeutic art life coach and a Reiki healer, so I want to combine all of these parts of myself to support others on their journeys. I'm still trying to identify my overall title so that it makes sense to others, but I'm an artist. But I'm also a seeker, healer, and teacher. I know this video is a bit different from my usual content, but I feel it was important to share because art isn't just about making pretty pictures. It's so much deeper than that. So if you're feeling stuck, if you think you've lost your creativity, I want you to know it's still there. Even if all you can manage is a single line, that's enough. That's a start. Express yourself because the healing is in the art. Thank you for being here, for listening to my story. I hope it resonates with some of you and maybe inspire you to share your own stories. Feel free to share your experiences in the comments below because our stories is what connects us with one another. Remember, your experiences, your struggles, your triumphs, they all contribute to the beautiful, complex person and artist you are. I thank you for your support. I thank you for giving me a space to be seen and to be heard. And keep up with your art because it's never too late.